What is up, everyone? Hey, hey, hey. Good to see all of you. We can go like that.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, that is fun.
I love this. Speaking
Yeah,
of creative, this is cool.
Yeah, we'll switch it to that because it's like the Disruptors background there. Hello again for another Conscious Leadership Network Disruptors Roundtable. We've kind of refined and retooled what we're calling it, and we want to get more refined. And so it's amazing. Disruptors Roundtable. Today's topic is creativity. We'd like to say hi to all of our Conscious Leadership Network members. Looks like we have Alex. What up? And if you're not familiar with the Conscious Leadership Network, we are a high-level collaboration network. People come to the Conscious Leadership Network to better themselves and better the work that they're here to bring to the planet. And our tagline is, "What you do is revolutionary. Together, we will build a better reality." So we have a whole bunch of brilliant courses, tribes, and ways that you can either choose a revolution that we have with one of us, two of which are here, or you can come in as a creator and create your own revolution that is inspired from your vision and your ideas. And so, yes, Conscious Leadership Network, we're super on fire about this. And before we bring on some guests, I'd just like to do a quick introduction of all of us. I'll lead it off. I'll just say, my name is Jeremy Lastman. I help people to master passion, free up time, and enhance their creativity so that they can perform at their larger-than-life best that they want to show up as superstars in the spotlight. And so I am offering my revolutionary imagination technology through the CLN, and I'm really excited to be a part of this. So Mallory, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Mallory Weber. I am a transformationalist. I am trained and work and practice in a wide variety of different modalities and tools and practices and techniques. And I come from an integrative approach in kind of going and analyzing exactly what the individual needs and tailoring exactly what they would need based from an energetic body, physical, mental, and spiritual perspective. And I also teach a lot of the different modalities and practices that I utilize. And, the fun thing for me that I love as far as being a transformationalist is actually being able to provide everybody else with the tools, because it's one thing for me to step up and assist and facilitate in somebody else's healing and growth and transformation, but it's a totally different game changer when I actually give somebody the tools and they can use it for themselves anytime, as well as bring it to their family, their friends, or anybody else in their scope.
Amazing. And Xavier, Coach X, I'll make sure you are muted right here. There we go.
Yes, I think I got that. Thanks, Jeremy. And thank you all for being here. I just wanted to say right now, I'm super duper exceedingly excited just to be this moment here with you. Now, my name is Xavier Smith, AKA Coach X, AKA NutriCoach X. I got a lot of aliases, right? But only one mission. I've been sent here to impact, inspire, and improve the lives of others on a daily basis. Now, some people may wonder why or how. Let me just make it real simple for you. I do alignment, period. So I use everything that has happened in my life instead of where I used to think about it as a victim mindset, thinking that everything happened to me as a victim. Now I'm empowered and I use my life because I realize that everything in my life happened for me. Huge difference. And so now all I get to do is listen. You notice how we are designed. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I listen twice as much as I talk. And I just look for opportunities to connect. I like to say that I'm a people builder. But in order for me to do what I do best is we have to meet each other in the middle of the road.
Mhm.
I have to be vulnerable enough to tell you about me. And likewise, you need to do the same for me. And when that happens and you open your trust, beautiful things happen. That's me in a nutshell. I hope that makes sense.
Of course, of course. Amazing. And it looks like we did have Aaron as a guest, but there we go. So we'll bring on Aaron in a second, one of our CLN members.
Nice.
But yeah, today's topic is the next pillar, which is creativity. So I'm really, really excited to spin this one up. And let's bring on Aaron and allow him to introduce himself. What's up, Aaron? Mr. Torque.
Hello.
I
don't know how my lighting is.
Yeah, you don't have any lights except the backlight behind you, huh? Ah,
Hey, there he is.
there you are. Much
Is that better?
Now we can see you.
All right.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce
Yes,
yourself?
a bit about me. Yes. Okay. Well, I'm here to play. That's all I really know how to do, or at least think I might know, and to play with others in this fascinating world that we are in. Of course, I'm an imagination technologist by trade. Ergo, that's what I'm doing here, as well as creating some spaces for people to explore, playing positive, playful productivity, as I like to call it, and enjoy the platform in the CLN as a playground with the structures and groups and topics and courses and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you had me, Aaron. You had me at the word play. I love that. Love that energy about you, and I appreciate you being here for one. And I think we're going to build upon that as much as we can.
Yeah. So I always like to kick off anything on the level that we're talking about by getting on the same grammar or understanding our terms. So let's start off simple. And Mallory, why don't you start off by defining what is creativity to you?
So this one is very broad for me, and I feel like creativity typically is described more from an artistic perspective as well as a musical perspective as well, right? So a lot of times people think that in order to be creative, they have to be in the scope of being able to create from an artistic realm, and it's not at all what I feel creativity is. Creativity is something that is literally just the birth of ideas, right? The birth of something new is taking old and adding to it and making different, or coming up with something entirely new, or something that's completely revolutionary, right? And I feel like that aspect of creativity is something that a lot of people actually really struggle with, because there's a lot of deep inner child work around creativity. And that's typically where we see a lot of resistance to creative aspects, and where we see a lot of people who follow this trend and follow this notion that creativity has to be something of an art creation of, physical drawing or painting, or like I said, creation of music, where creativity can be used in every single scope of life. It doesn't have to be limited to that. And that's the beauty of it. And really is something that should be educated around more and taught to people so that they can use it more, because we're in a really weird world right now. And without being creative and having these new ideas and these new thought forms, we're not going to be able to create the realities that we want to establish, right? The word creative has create within it, right? So that's where that comes from for me.
Awesome. Xavier, or I actually have something to say to that. Like, actually, I'll get it when I do mine. So, yeah, Xavier, how do you define creativity?
Beautiful question. And when I go into my inner self, I realize that the word that keeps coming up is freedom. Freedom to believe in the notion that you can create. Now, I come from a background where, if we're talking about the haves and the haves not, I would be coming from that background of more of the have not. And so for me, coming up through I call it the train of life. I see my train of life going through my adolescence, my teenage years, and my 20s and 30s, wondering, why is there such a separation between someone who seems to have it all and one who doesn't? And when I was very mindful of whether I was complaining about things and just bringing more of what I was complaining about into my life, or was I taking a more proactive role in creating a different outlook? So for me, it's all about choosing that particular thought that makes one feel better about their situation. So when I think more thoughts that make me feel good things tend to happen and come into, like, attract into my life. So it's kind of like opening a portal of some sort. And because of the thought process, which I believe my mind is the most powerful thing, more powerful than any supercomputer that man can ever make. It is that belief that really got me to change from victim mindset to victorious mindset. And for me, I believe that everybody, no matter who you are, has the ability to create something. Whether it's a thought, like going back to what Mallory was talking about, you have to be able to choose the momentum. And usually that starts with a thought that makes you feel good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you combine more and more of those thoughts that make you feel good. And then you end up in situations like this, where we get to collaborate and co-create together. And then it just keeps getting better and better. Like, because I used to be a lone wolf, and I'm very okay with being the lone wolf. But when you start to ask for more collaborative components to come into your life, and then it happens, oh man, it makes me feel good right now. I got goosebumps. But this is what I'm talking about. These are the power of your mind and choosing those thoughts to just allow it to come in. And look at what we have here. We have such beautiful minds right here. Aaron, Mallory, yourself, Jeremy. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about this.
Yeah, when you were telling your story, I felt like the resonance, because for me, I was also a lone wolf, but in the comparison energy, the comparison as the thief of joy kind of thing. Yeah. I had a best friend who was stellar at drawing, and I would just watch him draw pictures, and just the amount of creativity to do that, to draw with such amazing cartoonish, that I couldn't do. Like, if you were to tell me to draw a picture, I wouldn't be able to do it as good as him. And I always thought that was creativity. And until I got more into personal development and started to question why I didn't feel creative, did I actually get into the mechanics of creativity and really understanding that when it comes down to it, creativity is just combining A and B to create C. That's really what creativity is. You're combining two things and then coming up with something of a fusion or an idea that births from combining two unlike things or two like things to create something completely new. And that just, it exploded my imagination, because it simplified the play of just allowing thoughts to mix, allowing ideas to mix, allowing what I saw and observed to mix with what I thought it should be. And then it naturally just plays. You get the intermix. And I think Aaron will have something to respond to on that because we're very similar in that regard.
Did you ask a question, Jeremy?
Yeah. What is
my stream clear?
What is creativity?
Oh yes. Is my stream clear? My voice channel, because I'm getting a little bit of broken up, and it was kind of nice because that way I didn't hear too much of what Mallory and Xavier had said, so it didn't influence my original idea of what creativity is. I'm sure I'll review the tape and have some insight in the chat box. But for me, creativity, it's play, it's action, it's the process of creating. It's, that space, if you're drawing or writing or whatever it is that you do, creativity is the process. Like I've said oftentimes before, the destination is the path. The energy is in the operation. So like with play and everything, you're inspired to play, but you're most inspired to play while you are playing. And so creativity stems from that activity of playing is you're learning many things in many different ways. Kind of like immersion schooling or project-based schools, where you're not studying a subject, you're doing something. You're going to do something. You're going to make a project or whatever you want to call it. You're going to play a game. And so you play the game. You do the project. And in that project, you're learning, you're exploring different creative ways to solve unknown problems, if you will, to have that solution problem paradox process, and explore that. And that is creativity to me. It's that process of immersion, of being involved in that project, not necessarily learning this or that specific skill, but maybe learning a little of this and a little of that and putting it together to find the solution. I think that kind of touches on what you guys were saying, the parts of the stream that I did here.
Yeah. Oh, like solution is such a powerful word, because in essence, like creativity, innovation, it's all about getting to solutions, right? Yeah.
I'd like to say based on what Aaron just said, there's such a huge difference between intellectual learning, like book learning. You all can recall times when you had to stand at the corner and wait on the bus to take you to school and do the book learning by intellect. And then there's what Aaron is speaking of, when you come together, like at recess, that is where the magic happens, because all these cooperative components, these little kids are getting together and they're deciding on who's going to be allies with who, and just get together and just do stuff. And then therein lies the collaboration and projects and things of that nature. So I think there's a huge difference between intellectual learning and like playing for the purpose of just getting together and creating. So there's a lot that can be said about that.
So let me ask this. I'm curious now.
What Mallory was saying, she brings the tools. It's like, oh, cool. We got the new toys to play with at the playground. So that's like, to me, that's just like the business right there, Mallory.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm curious, X, to kind of segue into what you were saying. Do you feel, from a personal perspective and then looking from a perspective of humanity, do you feel that creativity is hard to establish in intellectual perspective or in an intellectual setting?
Well, I say yes and no. The reason I say yes is because it reminds me of a saying. For those that get it, there's no explanation required. For those that don't get it, no explanation will do. So you're going to have a certain pocket of people who, are just bent on making things their reality in the way they see it. And then there's others who are open
Sure.
to like free will and collaborating, peacefully coexisting. You know, those are the things that we are creating right now, I believe. So yes and no. You just have to. It just depends on the person or the state of mind that we're talking about. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready. I'm ready to peacefully co-create.
Yeah.
And what do you guys think, Jeremy and Aaron? I'd like to hear your thoughts around that too.
Yeah, the thing that came up when you asked that is like there's different angles of approach that I would take to that.
Mm-hmm.
On one side, from more of a oneness perspective, intellect or how did you frame it? Intellect or
Yeah.
like the intellect play?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a form of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
It is like everything that we perceive is a form of infinite intelligence playing in different playgrounds and domains and realms and planes of existence and reality.
Agreed.
But if I'm getting to the nuance of your question, I think what it comes down to is the difference in the hemispheres of the brain, because the intellect is more the logic, it's more of the left brain, it's more of the structure of survival, versus I think what you're asking is when it's more passion based, when it's not as confined in the theory realm or the like time based like planning, strategy, preparation, which again all forms of creativity, but in that
Correct.
subtlety, it's when you get into the right brain where it's more passion, more free flowing, less rigidity, more malleable, and that's when a theory, a scientific theory, an intellect can actually cross over or insight with emotion, and it becomes wisdom. And that to me is where intellect becomes creativity in that way, is when both hemispheres get to play and you're not just super linear and intellect and information, but it's also conceptual, abstract, and the ooey gooey stuff, the intangibles.
I like that. Would you have any, I'm curious now, because for me, I feel like I can operate in both spaces of the brain very easily. It's not, I don't feel I'm more left brain or right brain dominant. I have a very good flow between both aspects. And I feel like not everybody has that. Or I don't want to say that they don't have that, but more of that they haven't been taught how to utilize the other portion that they're not currently utilizing in ways that suit them. So I'm curious now, and this is for any of you. I'd like this question to be open-ended for all of you to respond. But my question is, thinking about the perspective of left brain, right brain, and expanding through creativity, do you guys have any specific recommendations that you would like to put out there for someone who would be struggling with that aspect of kind of merging both hemispheres, or lighting up one side and with the other to meet together to come to a better enlightened space? Aaron, go for it.
I can field that a little bit and answer the previous questions. I think it kind of flows into the next question. I was looking at the creative modalities that I'm familiar with, things like writing or ceramics or painting or even other artistic energy work, acting, vocalizing. And as it relates to ways that I'm familiar with how I use that right left brain connectivity, and the various different ways that each modality might educe out of me. And so a recommendation for that would be ways that you're already comfortable and familiar with of balancing that right-left hemisphere and exploring similar ways to expand the different ways that right brain connectivity kind of works. I hope that makes sense. I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
Except to repeat it, because it was important, to take those ways that you're familiar with, connecting right and left brain, and doing those and exploring ways that are similar, to expand the different ways.
I love that. Well, and I think that that's very helpful from a comfort zone perspective. I feel like, trying something new, it can be very daunting. And, when you're tying into something that you're already comfortable with and already enjoy and feel that natural creative flow, connecting the dots step by step like that makes a lot of sense and kind of eases people into it and doesn't force them to say, hey, I like to draw, or maybe I like to write poetry. Now I'm going to go write a song, right? That might seem very daunting to somebody, but taking it step by step, piece by piece, being able to put the pieces of the puzzle together so that they're not feeling completely shoved out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. And I go back to what you actually said about the inner child, right? And the way that I love to talk about this, because this was literally the way that I did it for myself as a lone wolf, was I saw in the ways that my hemispheres were represented in a big picture way, that in terms of fields of knowledge, like areas of knowledge, the left brain to me is represented as science, and the right brain is represented to me as spirituality. And what is the bridge? The bridge is philosophy. The bridge that converges and connects the hemispheres is our philosophy. And the way that I did it was actually going back to childhood in a quantum way, and in a meditation visualization, and seeing where you were taught the wall to be constructed between make-believe and reality. Once I walked back to that wall, after being taught to come to reality, be an adult, stop all that childish play, shame, guilt, all of that stuff, and come into reality and be grounded and all of that stuff. Once I entertained actually walking back and looking at what this wall was constructed by, the philosophy, the way words are used, the way words connect logic and emotion, then I was able to start to remove the bricks and get back to the make-believe. And that's really where the treasure trove of creativity can really explode. And it did for me. Like once I really decided to take down that wall that I was taught to construct.
Well, and I love that you speak about it from the perspective of like what you were taught, or how different things were kind of implemented and put within your space, and how that wall was built up by different aspects. Because, I feel like it's really important for people to identify, and I love that you said visualization meditation. I highly recommend people doing it from that perspective. And if meditating is hard, don't make it hard. Don't make it complicated. It's not as complicated as anybody makes it sound. Just kind of go into yourself and try to see different areas of your life where you felt this limitation, and this can even be from, it can be parents, right? It can be teachers, it can be friends, it could be coworkers, it could be as simple as someone saying your artwork sucks, right? Those powerful instances are what, like you said, form our wall. Those are the bricks that put everything together. And one by one, as you can identify, okay, this is where this happened. How do I heal this? Okay, well, someone said my artwork sucks, and it broke my heart and completely destroyed my confidence. But who are they to judge my art? Do you see some of the art that is out there and sold for thousands and thousands of dollars? There are some art pieces out there that looks like my toddler could do it. Does that make it any less valuable? No. It's all about what the value holds to the person who wants it. And so when you can go back through these pieces and connect the dots of where this is happening, and then nourish it and fulfill yourself with the opposite of whatever has occurred, that's where the real healing comes into place, of being able to kind of step back out of a comfort zone. You know, and so for me, the reason why I say like my art sucks, that was one of the things that was really hard for me as a child, because my mom was actually an artist. She had been trained by a protege of Andrew Wyeth. He's a professional artist. And, you know, I would draw and paint these, you know, beautiful things in school. And even in third grade, my drawing was chosen throughout the entire school, you know, kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade, and was chosen as best drawing or whatever, and was actually framed in the school. And I remember going and standing in front of it with my mom to show my mom that, and she literally criticized like how big the nose was on the character, and how the scarf shouldn't be blowing this direction, it should be blowing in a different direction because of the wind, right? And I remember those things just completely tearing me down and destroying my confidence, to the point where I hadn't done any art aspect unless I was required to, like with school or something, but I hadn't done anything free for myself in such a long time, that it took me being able to identify specific instances like that to actually heal those, to move forward into a space of natural creativity. And the reason why I had brought up art was because that was what had hit hard for me. But I want other people to think from the perspective of even just having new ideas, being able to share your ideas and having somebody shoot that down. That may be a reason why you're more quiet and more timid today, or why you don't try to expand and reshape outside the box. So I'm curious, you know, Jeremy, you had already shared, you know, a little bit of your pieces, but I'm curious for both Aaron and X, as far as if you guys have seen any specific instances, or maybe if you guys have gone back, maybe not through a visualization meditation, if there's any other means that you've gone through to identify some of these specific aspects that have hindered your creativity, and what that looks like for you guys.
Well, I can only speak as an expert from the files of my own life on this one. Going back to thinking about, you know, having and subscribing to those thoughts of unworthiness, or maybe perhaps believing if someone told me that my artwork sucked, because I'm big into drawing myself. And if I were to find myself believing that statement and how it would affect me on the inside, well, I can tell you this. There was 17 years of my life when I was incarcerated. I don't say and speak about it a lot because I don't like to go back there and bring it all the way back up. But now I use it for the purposes of empowerment. Now, when I say 17 years being locked up, I've never set foot in an actual jail cell. The incarceration that I'm speaking of is my mind. I was bitter, mad, frustrated, and angry at the world, thought the world owed me something. And it was all stemming from the fact that I was not ready to forgive my parents. Once I made that decision to get on the phone and call them and say what I had to say, and they said, you know, what they had to say, the moment I hung that phone up, I felt 100 pounds lighter and was ready to do the work. And that is when I started realizing that, you know, somebody's thought and opinion of me does not have to be my reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I can go forth and believe that I am actually worthy right now. like you are worthy right now. Everything, okay? And I mean everything that you've gone through you've done it because it happened for you, not to you. Because if you're still breathing, there's a damn good reason for it. And when I started to subscribe to that belief, and I turned it into something that I was existing from, that I don't need anybody else's approval, because the fact that I'm breathing is proof enough that I'm supposed to be here. So whether somebody believes or wants to give me a statement that is not necessarily true, that's their right. I'm totally okay with the fact that you can say anything that you want to say. It does not take away from my power, nor should it take away from yours. And so, especially when we get into a group of other awake human beings, and we already seem to know this, it just seems to get, my feeling of vibration just seems to get higher and higher, and the day gets better and better. And I get to a point where that's the only thing I'm responding to. So I say yes to maybe less things that I say no to, because I'm only focused on going higher every single day. So I don't know if that answers your question, as I can only speak from what's worked for me. But yeah, I feel good just by, having the question, because I think in the question is always the answer.
Xavier, I have a follow-up to that, because I think, as we've talked about, a lot of people can see creativity just from maybe more of the artistic perspective, instead of the ideas, the ways that Mallory was expressing the various expressions of creativity. I'm curious with you, how, because the way that I see everyone as an artist, no matter what their if they're a scientist, they're ceramic craft, like whatever it is. And so with you, Xavier, Coach X, how is coaching, your craft of coaching, how is that a vehicle of Xavier's creativity?
I love that question.
Well, that's a good question. As a matter of fact, it gives way to the fact that I borrowed this one from Bruce Lee, but you have to know yourself. You really do. I mean, when you think about knowing your opponent can learn 3,000 different kicks. And Bruce Lee says, I'm not worried about the man who can do 3,000 different kicks. I'm worried about the man who does one kick and does it 3,000 times, because he knows himself. So for me, I started asking questions. And when I found a mentor who really just kind of shifted my paradigm in thinking, and really got me to rewire my thinking, I started getting into the habit of asking myself better questions, because when you ask better questions, you get better results. And I started to put that into practice, and I started asking myself, okay, what is it about me that people like? What is it about me that I can leverage to help more people? Those are some serious questions that I was asking. And I would take these thoughts to my bedtime, and I would rise and continue to ask these thoughts. And more, year after year, it just clues start happening. Like, I followed the impulse to open my own fitness facility in my home. That led to, achieving over 130 5-star reviews from my garage. And I'm like, okay, what more is possible for my life? And so just basically asking those questions leads to clues being unfolded right before your eyes. If we learn how to sift through all the stuff that we don't want, which is where most people spend most of their time, we call it majoring in minor things. Yeah, you'll notice on my Facebook profile, I don't do politics. I don't do drama. I focus on where I'm going. So for me, coaching was a natural thing for me, because I don't mind staying quiet and listening. And if people like are curious, that's usually where it starts, because then I get to open myself slowly at their pace and reveal to them what's possible for them. And then I simply ask them, hey, if you like that, where do you think we should go from here? And I allow my potential friend, potential prospect, potential purchaser, I let them make that decision, because I don't follow the notion of forcing. I don't assert my energy over anyone. What I do is just offer and let them make the decision to take. It's kind of like the large mass of water that the animals of the wild kingdom, they all have to go to the water to drink. You know, the water doesn't chase them. So I consider myself that body of good vibration, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And as Bruce Lee says, flow like water.
Be like
Be
water.
like water. Be like water. Amazing.
So perfect.
Yeah. Creativity flows. So, Aaron, I am curious because I know
Yes,
you,
Jeremy.
and I also don't know you because you are a paradox yourself, as am I. How do you approach refining creativity? Because like how Mallory was talking about
Creating, the simple answer is creating. But I wanted to digress and regress a bit into the conversation, with what Professor or Coach X for Excellence and Mallory were kind of touching on, as far as one of the art forms, if you will, the expressions of creation for me is storytelling, and something I like the art form, if you will. And so I see the coaching process kind of like the story of the butterfly. Ain't nobody can help the butterfly transform. It's something the butterfly does by themselves. But other butterflies or caterpillars can definitely cheer them on and say, hey, this is how I did it. Which I think coaching is a big part of saying, hey, it's possible. Look at this story. Look at that story. These are the success stories that are your people that are like, yeah, this person's right on. And so to get back to your question, Jeremy, if you could ask it again, because I know it's important, and I think I lost it in my regression.
All good. This was all good.
But to relate back to the question, that refinement of creativity is in creating, that process of creating. Mm-hmm. You refine it by creating. You get better at telling stories. Telling stories.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The inspiration for the question was really to go back to what Mallory was talking about with judgment. Like in those early, very fragile days of expressing ourselves and being judged for it.
I'm going to turn off the camera to answer this, because you cannot judge the baby. You cannot get mad at the baby. And this is where, for me, the root of play ties in. There's a couple little things I like to say. Get mad at the baby. And you can forgive yourself for just about anything you've done in the past and move forward. But it's that playfulness of a baby doesn't get mad when he falls down and he's trying to walk. He just goes, oh, that's another way not to do it. So sometimes it is going and pounding your head against the ground because you found 1,000 ways not to do it. And then you finally came across the one. I think the Thomas Edison story is a great example of a light bulb, aka an idea, a flash of creativity. And, oh, the child's talking. Sorry, I did not know he had such a big voice.
There's a lot of good big words for that, for the baby too. Yeah. I love that. Where I was like going is like, for me, that was huge, like the judgment. And what transformed and shifted my world was when I was working with a group of artists on a comic book together, and I got to see and be like in that artistic mindset. I got to understand the difference between judgment and critique on a very, very real level.
And that sparked a thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because now I welcome it because I understand the mechanics of why it makes me a better creator, a better artist. It allows me to refine and make more precise my creativity, because critique is actually pointing out where things can be better, but it's not a reflection on you. And I feel like that's so important for someone to play with creativity and to create more regularly and not get bogged down by judgment or that, is seeing, welcoming and inviting critique because you understand it makes you better. And Ace of Fates says the innocence of persistence. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that blows my mind, as far as it relates to the divine timing of all things that I perceive in my world to help me in my art. And it just kind of strikes me as a good time and place to tell the story about how I was searching for the perfect color purple in my exploration of art shape.
Let's hear it.
And the sound of color. And Xavier was in on this one, helped me to name a certain shape, color, sound, the abyss, which was perfect for that color. And how I kind of showed a glimpse into the process of how I found that perfect color purple for perfect composition, because it was a much brighter purple, more of a violet type tone. And I enjoyed the shape of the color abyss and the sound that it made. And so just an exploratory of art in itself and the creation process of how deep of a dive, to discover the process of creating or finding that perfect color purple, which may not be perfect for someone else. Just kind of was super cool, because just kind of made me think about that. The whole judgment, and not really judgment. It's just a name for a piece of art, and it fits it perfect. But there's others that are much more colorful and delightful than that one.
It's so funny that Aaron, your action made me think of another thought. But have you all noticed, this goes out to everybody, have you noticed that how our society, especially within this last 9 months, have you noticed how people are so eager and just ready to run in line to be offended?
Yes, very definitely.
Right? And so to me, because I was there, I'm speaking only as an expert, because player has to know the game. And so I can easily recognize it because it's me, or shall I say was me. But when it goes back to what Aaron was talking about, we must love ourselves enough to be okay with whatever contrast comes in, because we still have an opportunity to use that for our benefit. And here's this, for the better benefit of whatever we're doing, whoever we're serving, because it not only makes us better, but it hopefully at the end of the day makes everybody else around us better. But we have to be willing to see it as such, not taking offense, but taking the lesson instead.
Yeah. Kind of a connecting thing onto that, because this is was another mind blower for me about fitting into a box versus living outside of the box, and realizing that was okay, and that was actually how I'm most designed, is expert. Let's like talk about this word expert as it relates to creativity. And what I want to kind of bring up is, well, I think it's good. I want to show the Einstein quote first. Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And this, to me, when we connect it to expert, this can really create, like really constrict creativity, because you grow up thinking, or it's taught, going back to that you have to pick one thing and become an expert at that and do that thing for your whole life. And that is how you become successful. Like that, just go into logic on that for a second. And that never resonated with me. And it was because I was being judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. And so it was a mismatch. And when I worked with a mentor, Xavier, that showed me what the difference between a expert and a pioneer was, that is what allowed me to be okay with the way my creativity functions, is multidimensional, multi-passionate, like big picture all over the place. And I thought that I thought I had, problems focusing. I thought I had just judgment on the way my mind worked. And when you understand that an expert is one way, but being a pioneer means you're going into territories that have not been gone to before. You're literally going into darkness and creating from nothing. And when you understand, and if that vibes with you, then you're probably not an expert as it's defined. And I'm curious to know your guys' relationship with, have you wanted to be an expert, or where has your creativity most lit your passion?
I want to jump right in on this one because I love the question around words are my thing. I love words in general. And I feel as though our society has such a rigid definition around every single word. And obviously so, right? We have to have some sort of rule to what our words mean, right? But an expert in something can mean something very different to somebody else. Where, to me, if someone is an expert at whatever it is, that expresses that they have an immense amount of knowledge, an immense amount of experience, an immense amount of aptitude at whatever it is that they're discussing. And I like that you brought in this perspective of the pioneer, because I hadn't actually really thought about it from that perspective, because it actually makes me want to shift the way that I word some things as far as expert versus pioneer, because there are some things that I feel that I very much exceed and can stand my ground as an expert within, due to the aptitude, due to the experience, due to the level of training, due to the even being able to be a pioneer within that specific scope, that I feel other people living by this definition of expert may not necessarily agree with, because of the term expert maybe being more delineated. Mm-hmm. And I feel as though, as a society and as humans, that what we should do in these circumstances is just ask deeper questions around it. Because for me, when you had brought up the word expert, I've had various different occasions where I've used the word expert and feel very comfortable and very strong about whatever it is that I'm discussing, that I feel that I'm an expert in. and can back that up with knowledge, with practice, with ambition, with aptitude, with experience, right? And to me, and I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts around this as well, to me, those are the pieces of the puzzle that make somebody an expert. Just because it's not necessarily 100% by the book, are they not an expert? It's a great question.
I'd love to field it from here. I also too believe, expert has a lot to do with experience, and being a pioneer like yourself, Jeremy, a pioneer in so many areas, it's hard to get that track record as an quote unquote expert pioneer, because the task of pioneering is interesting, especially when you're going into spaces and places that you may not have tools or any maps or anything to guide by. You're just stepping into this void of existence. So how much experience is that, and how much does that experience need to be facilitated to help people grow, especially here in this network of conscious leaders, to show, hey, we're jumping into the void and this is what's happening, kind of a live update as we're going through it. Hey, we're here. We're the scout on the mission. Beam me. I'm going to go explore the planet. Jeremy, beam me down. Hopefully the communicators don't go out.
Yeah. Xavier, did you have anything you wanted to add on to that?
Yeah, I think I could add a few tidbits of my own version, because I tell you what, man, this has been a wrestle over the years with me, just a word, only because I feel like breaking it down to the simplest form that I can think of, the term expert simply means that one has a slight degree of knowledge over someone else. It doesn't have to be like miles and miles of expert technical knowledge. It could also mean, hey, I tried this bike and fell on my knee 3 times, and this is what I learned. Or it could be something, on a totally opposite end of the scale. So for me, I feel like the spirit of Bruce Lee coming back through me again, because I remember him on an interview talking in a black and white expose. For me, it is only the fact that if I have something that I've learned and I'm willing to turn it around and share it with someone else, that could possibly make me an expert. Now, am I comfortable using that word? Well, I personally believe in the notion of being okay whether they think me as an expert or not. So here's my thought. I run my business, and my personal business and my business like a train. You got 3 choices when it comes to a moving train, right? You either get on the train, you get off the train, or you get the hell out of the way. Simple as that. I don't have any time nor desire to prove my status as an expert to anyone.
Agreed.
I'm not interested in that at all, because I'm not a competitor. The only person that I do compete with is the one that looks at me in the mirror when I get up. So the question that I ask myself is, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? And even if it's just by 1%, then I consider myself a success. So, and if you want to determine and define success, all that is making progress. So if I can come to the end of my days and ask myself, did I make any progress today? And I can say yes, that's one check. Did I help anybody? That's another one. As far as proof, I let the people speak for me.
Yeah.
I love it.
Ace of Faith says, it's amazing that we even need to have these kinds of conversation. It really reflects the degree a miscommunication that riddles this world.
I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I think that it's, I think that it's something that, unfortunately, there have been a lot of people who fall back on utilizing terms like that to have an advantage, to get a leg up, to capitalize and monetize in different perspectives. And I feel like that has given, and not just that word, there's other words too that I feel maybe are challenged a little bit more in today's day and age, that ultimately I feel like words should be more fluid, because regardless of what Webster's definition is, we all have variations to every single word. And so instead, just connecting and having this conversation around what it would mean with the individual, regardless of what the word is, creativity, pioneer, expert, whatever that is, just being clear and open and facilitating that communication, I think is literally the most important aspect, because right there is what births creativity. If we're limited by the terms that we're allowed to use based on someone else's definition, how are we going to step forward in our most natural creative space?
That connects to an amazing thing next, which is to kind of like we've laid a really cool groundwork, and now let's take it to the next level. Oh wait, hold on. Talk more about the prevalence of competition in society. How can we create those win-win, third option, fifth element kind of scenarios so we stop feeling the need to step on each other's toes? Good. This segues perfectly. Hashtag conscious business. Perfect.
I love that.
This beautiful groundwork that we've laid and played. And what we're all here doing together as a part of the Conscious Leadership Network, the authority establishment. Authority. Creative authority. The authority of your creativity. What does that mean, especially in what Ace of Fates brought up in terms of competition versus collaboration? How can we be authorities, and what does authority mean to you while we claim our space?
Well, let me take this one first. I want to put into your mind a picture of a water well, a drinking well. And we simply just turn on that faucet, and the more we turn it on, the bigger that stream gets. This is what I have seen in my years as an expert in my own life, that people have this misconceived notion that this water, this well that we all drink from, they have this notion that it's going to dry up, that if one person gets their fill, then we won't have enough for the other. I'm here to tell you that it's a lie. The well that we drink from does not run dry. And if we can get that into the minds of more people, just get them to believe that if it's okay for them, if this person can do it, it's possible for me, period. So my belief is that because we have this already taking place and others around this beautiful globe doing the same thing vibrationally, energetically, that speaks to the fact that it's happening right now. The shift, the paradigm shift that is needed is here. We're doing it. And all we have to do is keep practicing, getting our reps in, and inviting, because I go through my each and every day that I wake up, I'm already deciding that I'm thinking win-win-win situations. I'm not thinking about me first, because we are in that already.
Right.
We are seeing the results of thinking me first mentality.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Right.
And so now, because of the fact that we are here, now the convergence or the shift because of people like you are doing this type of work only adds to the feeding the wolf of light instead of the wolf of darkness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the way that, especially to address Alex's question, for me, it's unmixing where the consciousness of society is influencing and impacting your own individuated frequency. And that to me allows you to disentangle from the old paradigm ways that society was based off competition, scarcity of resources, and allows you to get more into a self-awareness of the game, of the great game that we're playing, of the stage that we're on, the arena that we're in, where even if there is a presence of competition, when you're self-aware, you know it's all a game, and it's no longer hyper real and very heavily real. And that to me is where we can start to have a lot of fun, because for me, I use the pro wrestling metaphor. We're all trying to be the champion, but it really doesn't matter. It's all in the experience. It's all in the process. It's all in how much fun we want to have by playing the roles that don't really define us at our core essence of who we really are. And it's why I love to talk and teach, profess about self-awareness. And just by having this conversation with you guys, I'm like entertaining new definitions of expert too, and claiming more authority on what knowledge I feel like I have, and instead of looking at it as not enough, maybe there is a sense of more expert claiming that I can do myself. And so I thank you all for enlightening me on that.
You know, first I want to tie into that expert aspect of, you know, the imposter syndrome is very, very real. And, you know, the reason why I want to bring this up is because ultimately the question of how do we get to a space of not stepping on each other's toes and kind of converging and working together, I feel like it comes from an immense amount of healing. I've got to be really honest there, where if people are not doing their own inner work, it's not going to happen. It will happen to a perspective of the people who are doing the work, like all of us coming together and creating this beautiful space that perpetuates and only grows and expands rapidly, exponentially, quantifiably throughout the rest of humanity. However, we can't get everybody on board without identifying the natural aspects that are limiting them, such as the imposter syndrome, such as struggling with definitions, such as inner child work, such as even just identifying that it's okay to have your space and share your space with other people. Working together, right? A lot of people, I feel like, who step on a lot of other people's toes have just never had that natural experience of successfully working with somebody else. Yes, Alex said imposter syndrome. Yes, imposter syndrome is such a real thing that holds so many people back, and I feel like it ties directly back into, one, judgment, two, our inner child and what different aspects we've formed and carried with us through childhood, as well as this like nature versus nurture type of thing, mixed with how other people define things. Because when that definition and that judgment happens, it will limit us, making us feel like we're an imposter, making us feel like, well, who are we to say we're the expert in this? Or who are we to say that we are, you know, we're expanding our creativity? Or, right, like some people may watch this video and literally might think, how in the hell is any of this creative? Nobody's doing anything. Right. And it's redefining these things and bringing up these new aspects and talking about these different things that people are not commonly thinking about. That is what's going to create that new reality. Because I guarantee you there are a lot of people who have turned this on and have thought, well, gosh, nobody's painting, nobody's drawing, nobody's singing, where's the creativity in this? Where to me, this entire video, and I can't wait to go back to watch it again. I want to take bits and pieces out of every single thing that everybody said, because there's just so much power that's been held here that can really help serve humanity. And like Alex had said, can help create this new vibration that we're deep down, almost all of us desire it. I talk to a lot of people, regardless of if they're still living in fear or regardless of still living in competition. We seem to all want to have this collective convergence. And the more we heal, the more we work on ourselves, the more we take a step back and look at us from face value, the more we're able to do the work and move steps forward.
Wonderfully said.
Thank
Aaron,
you.
did you have something you want to add on?
Adversarially, yes. To play the role of the devil's advocate, my friend, to discuss these things of competition, judgment, our own self-judgment per se, that man in the mirror we face every day, that expertise and the meaning within it, and what this discussion really is facilitating. And I look at it as a team. Of course, we're all competing to be the quarterback of the team, but not all of us are cracked up to be the expert quarterback. Some of us may be better at being the wide receiver or blocker or kicker. And this communication of competing for the role of quarterback, the champion, as Jeremy likes to put in his wrestling terminology, gives us the opportunity to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses within our group. Now, on the point of the external world and the world at large, the energy we're seeing, that again has to be, from my point of view, considered a feedback loop of a creation of my own device, giving me a fractal view of the perfect essence. That's my piece. I'm done.
I love it.
He wants to be in your tribe now, so you got to invite him.
Sounds good. I will. I'd be happy to.
Nice. Cool. So
is that the expert tribe or the which tribe is that? I want to
My
be
tribe is High Vibe
High Vibe
Connection. You're in there, Aaron.
All right. Cool.
I think Aaron's in all of ours. Yeah. Awesome. So as we draw this Disruptors Roundtable to a close, I'd like to bring it back to disruption and field to you guys how, I mean, this whole video and all of us really have disrupted people's preconceived idea of creativity and really painted a new paradigm, as Xavier said. But what are some good final words that can really help people have the confidence, the inner authority, the courage, the bravery, the power to disrupt their comfort zone and to approach their zone of genius? What are the baby steps that really can send people off of this roundtable after they've watched this to go launch them into their creativity and their play and their signature way of their expression of creativity, their expression of their infinite intelligence into this dimension? What are some final words that you want to launch people off with?
The silence is killing me, Jeremy. No, I would say, if you could learn to embrace the failure, learn to love the failure, learn to play and relish in the failure, hey, that's a good step to go. You know, as our people that we like to follow, the Einstein and his light bulb, or you know, the Bruce Lee and the master of one kick. Enjoy the failure, relish in it.
Yeah, I'm going to devil's advocate off of you, Aaron, Mr. I hate the silence. And I'm going to say, go into silence. Be in the stillness, be in the silence, and it doesn't need, you don't even need to call it meditation if you don't want to, but give yourself the time and space to immerse in silence, where you're not trying to fill time so autonomously or so unconsciously, or so avoidance, procrastination, whatever it is that you fill automatically. Give yourself time and space to just enjoy still silence. And that will do wonders to quiet the mind and get you into that very, very special place where you birth the creativity from the present moment. It gets you out of time and gets you into the present moment. And that to me is what I would recommend people do is schedule silence.
I'd like to team into that one.
Jeremy, come on up to the ranch for a few weeks.
Let's all go. I'm game.
Yeah. You know, maybe someone will bring you supplies once a week. It'll be a great place to enjoy the silence.
Life takes care of life.
Time to party.
Yeah.
You know, and within the silence, for me, the piece that I would like people to take away is connect into your own passions. Because when you take yourself out of the equation and kind of just go within yourself, you're able to clear out other people's preconceived notions. You're able to clear out, you know, like you said, the schedule, the things that you're procrastinating on, different aspects like that, and really just center in and find what you enjoy. Because if you can find what you enjoy and you're passionate about, it's easier to run with that. It's easier to make those steps out of your comfort zone if it's something that brings you joy and happiness and fulfills you from that perspective. And as daunting as taking a big leap out of your comfort zone seems, if it's something you're passionate about and you enjoy and you see the purpose behind it, maybe taking smaller steps will be a better piece of the puzzle for you, because then with each and every step you take outside of your comfort zone, your zone gets bigger.
Yep.
Your circle expands. Just like if you took a rubber band and you stretched it, you're going to stretch it and stretch it and stretch it. And eventually it's going to hold that shape the longer you stretch it and the further you go, until it breaks. And then you don't have a comfort zone anymore. Then you're all out in the open and you're all passion filled. You're all creative filled. That's probably my biggest step that I would take.
Yeah. And if I could piggyback off what you brilliantly said, especially coming from me being a people pleaser, it's who are you creating for?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, I got so caught up in the, you know, trying to save the world, like that mentality of like the big things and all of the world changing innovations and all the big ideas. But if you're not inherently creating for the pure pleasure of creating just for you, then it's not going to be sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you can find that love and that pleasure, passion, that you're not creating for anyone else but you, then the work, the creativity becomes instantly brighter, bolder, and more magnetic, because you've taken out all the neediness, you've taken out all of the conditions, all the expectations, and it just becomes much more pure. So I love what you said, Mallory. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree. You know, everything that has been dropped here has been just as valuable as nuggets of gold. So anyone watching, whether you're watching now or watch the replay, take it in, soak it in, like the sun rays. Now, you going back to what you had asked for, if I can give a couple of tidbits of takeaways, I just want to start by saying that life boils down to two things, basically. It's the choices that you make, and then the habits that you develop around those choices that you make. So for me, speaking only as an expert of my life, again, I had to learn how to change those choices and habits up. So for me, what if is the word. I'm going to pause for dramatic effect. Go into your mind and just ask yourself, what if? What if, and then you can fill in the blank. I'll give you an example. What if I could be worth $10,000 a month doing it on my terms? What if I could have a better relationship with my spouse just by making some better choices at the home? What if I didn't have constant chronic pain in my joints, if I just agreed to let someone in my life to help me? What if? What's possible? And you begin to take that into your thoughts at bedtime and wake up thinking, what if? The universe begins to work for you, my friend. Believe me. And if you can get into that, watch out, world, because here you come.
Yes. Perfectly said. A wonderful way to really put a bow on today's roundtable. Aaron, coming back. He's having
baby's coming back.
Baby's coming back.
He has something important to say. Again, embrace that failure. You know, like you were when you were a baby, just trying to find 1,000 ways to walk.
Yep. That's the way to success right there.
I love it.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone, for participating here today. Thank you, everyone who's watched in the Conscious Leadership Network on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe where you're watching this, and share it if you feel like your friends, your acquaintances, whatever could find value from what we talked about here. If they're struggling with creativity, send them this video because we feel it will really help. And we know the gold. Well, I saw the gold that was disseminated here, as Xavier said. Be sure to join the Conscious Leadership Network while we're still in early adopter access. Next month,
if you don't subscribe, there's push-ups involved.
Push-ups. Xavier's going to do, Coach X is going to make you do push-ups. So we will, I think the link should be in the description, but if not, we'll post it there. You can also go to consciousleadership.life and read more about it and sign up from there. And then we will see you next month for the next Disruptors Roundtable, where the topic, as I have it here, is finances.
Woohoo! Everyone needs that.
Finances. So make sure you join the Conscious Leadership Network so you can hop on with us onto the next roundtable. And as for Xavier, Aaron, Mallory, I am Jeremy. And keep that passion burning, and we will see you